All right, and you're live.
Yee, we're live! All right, everybody, welcome to Jack and Dennis.
Do I sound like Dennis?
Dennis is out on the other side of the
You don't
screen.
even look like Dennis.
Dennis is still coughing, but he's here in background.
Yeah, he hasn't gone to the doctor's
Mike
yet.
is forward. All right, well, it's still legal. Let's say pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's get into it. So, I guess I'll start.
What are you talking about tonight?
I'm going to talk about my reminder for the week. I'm going to talk about these hearings
That are all
that's going
show.
on.
That are all show.
Yeah. And I'm going to talk about a bill that was passed in Washington State, and I'm also going to talk about these businesses leaving Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, Chicago, Walmart and them. I have a theory on that, if anybody's interested. So anyway, let me get started. So, you think anything's going to come from anyone being held accountable in these hearings that they're holding in Congress? What's going to happen with these congressional hearings?
I don't think anything's gonna happen. No, with you.
No,
It's just a show.
they never do.
What
It's
are
also
they-
for show.
What are they waiting for to release the rest of these January 6th videos that they have? How come that's not been released? Why is Mayorkas not being impeached yet? I mean, he's not doing his job, they're saying it. And why not any of these salaries being held from these secretaries or head of the FBI and stuff like that, if they're thinking they're doing something wrong? And why there's no outrage from the American people? Come on, folks, let's go. So
I have a theory on that about
What's
the
that?
American people. I think they're done. They're just wiped out.
But it can't be done.
I know that. We say that every week, but I think they're done. They're just so...
Yeah, but Dennis, the attention span of the average American is unbelievably short.
About 3
I
seconds.
mean, we have these congressional hearings going on forever. Why isn't anybody asking what happened with that? All right, we heard about it, but did anything get done? Nobody asks because it's past them already.
So we had a hearing. I'm going to do it next week. I'm going to do like I did the other week where I think it was 3 weeks ago I had put a little hearing on. So there was a hearing with Mayorkas for Congress. And they're asking him, there's 300 Americans a day dying from fentanyl overdose that's coming through the border. So 300 a day, guaranteed, being gone. We had a shortage of baby formula where the American citizen, the mothers couldn't find formula, yet they stockpiled it on the border for these illegal immigrants. And that's what they are, they're illegal immigrants. There's 5 million that they think of. 5 million people that came into this country illegally, wandering around. And they're asking this guy, and he sits there with a smirk on his face and says, we're doing our job. And, there's different things. I'll show you who they are. They have people, they're actually in the military and the Department of Defense. If you were doing this as a soldier, would you keep your command? No. You're not doing your job. Yet Mayorkas sits there with this shit-eating grin on his face.
He's the Homeland Security guy, right?
Yeah. And, we had balloons flying over this country from China. So, if you know these are the facts, and you have Congress, and you have the purse strings, why is this man still getting a salary?
Yeah.
All right, I get it. The impeachment is ceremonial. He'll get impeached, but he won't get, he won't be found guilty and lose a spot in the Senate because it's run by the Democrats. But you want to know something? The Republicans can say, well, listen, until you start getting this right, you're not getting paid. And I get the can of worms, all right? It's the Pandora box. If they open that box, now when the next administration comes, and you're not doing our liberal agenda, so we're not going to pay you. But something needs to be done. So what has to be done? you know, I'm watching this, and they're calling Mayorkas a liar, and then intervene. Okay, what you're so and so from whatever states recognized. You're calling this man a liar. That's not allowed.
Yep.
You got to strike that. So
It was taken off the record.
So they took it off the record.
Yep.
That you're not allowed to call him a liar.
And she refused to retract it because she said he's a liar.
Well, she got overvoted.
Yeah.
It wasn't allowed.
They stricken her comment.
Yeah. And they took her time away, so she couldn't
Yep.
finish the rest of her thought.
Outrageous.
So, and the American people aren't watching this. It's on highlights. You know, you got, and I'm going to show it. And, you know, most of my show on that day is going to be that. You're going to see that. And you're going to, but you listen to the comments, you know. So, anyway, that's, my introduction to that is, listen, they're doing these hearings. To what extent? You know what I'm saying? We're paying for this. Now, another thing I'm going to show is the amount of people in these hearings. So you have all your congressional representatives there that were voted in. And then behind them and in front of them are employees to these legislators.
Right. They're the ones
Now,
that
if you-
bring the
if
big
you-
cards
if
with
you-
all
if-
the information on it.
If you look at the amount of people in this room, now these are just hearings on from committees on these secretaries, all right? But they do other hearings that are laws that are going to affect the economy. Every single person in that room has people investing in these laws that they're going to pass. They shouldn't be allowed to invest. It's insider trading. They know what the outcome's going to be before the American people get to know about it.
That's how Pelosi makes a living.
Well, fair enough is fair enough. She was rich before she got in there. Her husband's a banker. But now they're making crazy money on stuff she's legislating on. So they had a lot of money to begin with. And don't get me wrong, she was well off. She was going to be able to live forever on the money that they had before that. But now they have hundreds of millions. And she is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Now I got news for you, Mike. The same people in that room, some of them make $200,000 a year, some make $174,000 a year, whatever they are. These secretaries are there, they're making $240,000 a year. They're all multi-millionaires. Where did they get it from?
Well, it's like Obama when he was the president. He had a politician's job. He was worth practically nothing. He comes out of the presidency, he has $10 million already. Where'd that come from?
Well, he signed a 8-figure contract with Netflix.
Yeah, and book deals and stuff like that. But that, I mean, the minute he got out of office, he had $10 million.
Yeah.
He was building himself a castle.
You know, they're doing hearings on the Biden family and their these other countries.
All of them.
You know, and that's another one. I mean, they have bank records now, and they have a whistleblower from the IRS showing how the administration told the IRS not to look into these things. So they're not paying their taxes. This is tax-free money, and on top of that, they made millions of dollars, and it's gone. Where is it?
Yeah.
Where is these millions of dollars? This man is doing nothing about China. He's calling them competition, not an adversary. You know, why? You know, if you read the notes from the laptop of Hunter Biden, you know, when President Biden, Dennis coined the phrase, President forget a lot. And it's awesome. But you want to know, I'm dating myself on this, but you want to know who the president reminds me of? Mr. Magoo. He walks around and he doesn't know anything and he doesn't see anything.
Right.
And he mumbles. If that's not Mr. Magoo, I don't know who is.
Sure. No, I walk down this way and I make a left, right? Do I stand by that blue dot?
Yeah. Like, you know, I mean, and then he starts ranting these, he's got marbles in his mouth. So, do you have anything on that, Dennis?
No.
You don't have nothing on that? What about you, Mike?
Well, I don't think they should only check. I think they should check everyone.
I'm glad this
Well, these
whistleblower's
guys
coming
are
out.
criminals. What they're doing, although it's legal, because now they're not supposed to do it, but their families are allowed to invest.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be allowed. So either they got to investigate them or change the law. Why are they allowed to do that, and other people are sent to jail for it?
Well, yeah.
Martha Stewart.
Martha Stewart, the other actor, what was his name?
Right, I forget his name, but he was the same thing, insider trading.
No, he didn't. Well,
Well, Martha Stewart was, I believe.
she was tax evasion.
I thought it was inside trading.
I'm glad this whistleblower's coming out, but is he going to be very credible? I mean, they're gonna try to.
Well, how long?
Well, no, did you see what he did?
No.
He wrote a letter to Schumer, and Schumer acknowledged what he said. So he has on both sides, and he's gone to CBS, which is a liberal news, and he went to Fox, he went to a few other. So what he did was he got his name out there first. So now this man can't just disappear because everybody's gonna be like, well, like next week he can't be working on the garbage truck, and he's not working in the IRS anymore because that's whistleblower. You're not allowed to go back at him. So what he did was pretty strategic and pretty smart. How he wrote letters to everybody and had them acknowledge that he wrote the letters to them, so they all know that he's doing. So Chuck Schumer knows that this guy is coming out as a whistleblower. I don't know if that, again, we've been saying it for a long time now. The Democrats are using the law to break the law. So if Chuck
I'm saying that they're gonna test his credibility. They're gonna other people come out that are their ponies, the little minions, and say, "Oh, this guy's a lunatic, and that guy's a lunatic."
They can do that, but what he's got, that's something that they can't refute. He has receipts. They're not receipts like we have from the store. The receipts, he's got the paperwork. They call them receipts, but he's got the paperwork. So you can be crazy, but the paperwork is not crazy.
Yeah.
The paperwork is there. So
Again, where's it going to go?
Well, this is the question I'm asking.
It's just a dog and pony show.
That's what I'm asking. All of these hearings.
No one's going to get indicted.
If you're going to get these secretaries and these head of the departments in front of the Congress and grill them and expose them for what they are, and then go like this.
Okay, we're done.
Okay, we did our thing.
That's why I'm saying these people don't understand what's going on around them.
See, that was a good way you brought that into it. You let us know that these congressional hearings are going on, and yet nothing's being done. And then you're getting ready for the IRS. That the same thing could happen.
What were you going to say, Dennis?
I forgot.
You was going to say something?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. He was in the middle of it. All right. So I'm going to go into my reminder of the week. And I'm sure everybody that listens to this show and is part of our group and everything else remembers Joe Biden saying, anybody making less than $400,000 a year, your taxes aren't going to go up. All right? So
I remember him saying that.
Yeah? What?
I remember him saying that.
You did, right?
Yeah.
I'm not crazy like that whistleblower. He said it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So last year, Americans paid in taxes, guess how much they paid in overtaxes?
How many?
Over $4 trillion. And guess what? After receiving over $4 trillion tax-paying dollars, the United States government still overspent. So, please tell me, is it time to take back our government? So it starts, we got to start taking this back so that these tax dollars start working for the American people. If the government wants to shut you down or even take away your freedoms, all they have to do is unleash the IRS. And while the IRS is shutting you down, you want to know who's in their side pocket working with them? The FBI. That's who comes. So, and then when they're done, when they go in there and they take all your stuff, all your papers, by gunpoint, now the entire Department of Justice comes at you. So, the point of this is the 16th Amendment. We have to get rid of the 16th Amendment and bring back a flat rate tax, the way it was written in the Constitution. So here's a little thing. You know how many people work for the government?
Millions?
Well, I would say 1.5 million.
It's over 2.
There's over 4 million. There's over 4 million federal government employees, and they're all paid without tax dollar. So if you owned a company, all you folks that listen to this and own a company, and you had the work production of the federal government employee, would you fire them?
Yeah.
Would your business still be in business if you didn't have a bottomless pit of money? If you didn't have to earn your American dollar through the capitalist system? Not the socialist system that's there? Over 4 million employees work for the federal government. Over $4 trillion collected in tax dollars, and we overspent.
Wow. And it's funny too, because you got the secretaries that are in charge saying, "I don't recall.
Yeah.
I don't know."
Or just flat out saying,
I'll have to check back with you.
or just flat out saying, I am doing my job.
Yeah. So if they can't get it right, what's the rest doing?
So, the reason why I bring this up was because on April 18th was tax day. And the Democrats of this country act like that's a holiday. Tax day is a holiday. Tax day is the biggest day of tyranny in this country. It puts more people in. I had to pay over $3,000 this year. I spoke to another guy that works for an elevator company. He had to pay $3,400. You had to pay
$3,500.
$3,500. Dennis had to pay $3,500 in taxes this year, on top of what's taken out of your taxes every year. So you get taxed on every paycheck, and then you got to pay taxes after that. And you want to know why me and Dennis are paying? Because we have a pension. So we're paying twice. We're paying taxes twice for the same year. Because we have a pension and we have a side job. So we have to pay extra. So, come on folks. Stop looking at your take-home pay. That's why they got rid of the paycheck. Because you don't have an itemized paycheck anymore when you used to. So you don't, I bet you there's a majority of Americans don't even know what they make. They just know what they take home. And that's why the liberals in this country want to get rid of the 99 tax form. Because anybody that has a 99 tax form means they pay their own taxes. So they understand, they know. All of these private businesses knows what they're paying every quarter and every year, their taxes. And it's getting to be a bigger and bigger and bigger. But well, I mean, you are supporting 4 million, over 4 million families. And when they're done working, you're paying their pension and health insurance for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And a large part of this are guys that are working in the Capitol building, and they're doing insider trading. I would like to see, we have no resources. Again, we said it's just me and Dennis, and we do our best. We have Mike, Jack, and Margaret, a few other people that help us out, so we don't have these numbers. But I would like to know how many of these bureaucrats that work in these legislators' office and Senate office, that staff there, who are also millionaires. You got anything? It's going to be a fair show. I thought Dennis was going to go over a lot because he was out last week. Way to go, Dennis. Way to be sick all the time. Thanks for serving our country.
I'm laughing.
Well, the senators that we have, they don't even need to know, they don't even have to have experience in what they're supervising. As long as they fit the curriculum of the liberal.
Well, that's telling you so much. They lie to the constituents and say they're going to do this, this, and this, and then when they get into office, they do nothing. This is a uniparty. It's not two parties anymore. The second party is going to be the Independent Constitutional Party. The Independent Party is folding right into the Democratic Party. And they're all going for the same pool of money that's in Washington, D.C. Again, we've said it. If we haven't said it once, we haven't said it a million times. You cannot drain the swamp while using swamp money. It's impossible to do. It only takes you so far. So in every bureaucracy, it works like a hand. Your hand is wide open, and as things start going bad, it closes into a fist. And anything in that fist gets untouched. And apparently, right now, the bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. is over 4 million people strong. So that's a big hand. You know, Trump had a good idea, and he didn't get to implement it. And that's, you know how you drain a swamp? You move everything out of it. You take the FBI and you put it in Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's a genius idea.
You take the IRS and you put it in North Dakota.
Nobody wants to be a secretary or something in Oklahoma,
Right,
except for maybe people who care.
right. You know, then if you get somebody that's going to be the head of the FBI and he's got to go to Oklahoma, the man wants to serve his country.
Right.
Man or woman.
Well, honey, we're going to have to move to Oklahoma, but we're going to be doing good work.
Yeah. We're going to work for our country.
Right.
As Mike Pompeo likes to call them, pipe hitters. There is no pipe hitters in Washington, D.C. anymore. The only pipe hitters are brought in from outside of Washington, D.C. because the rest of them are swamp creatures. And that counts the press. The press is the worst. I mean, it is bad. I got one more topic I'd like to give you my opinion on.
What's that?
So Walmart, Walgreens, Target, Starbucks.
Didn't you just say Five Guys are closing all the stores?
Well, that's different. That's something different. But these big companies are they're shutting down in all of these blue-run cities, and they're blaming it on grand larcenies. People are going in there and they're just taking whatever they want. And they walk out and they can't flip the bill anymore.
The companies are.
The companies. So these neighborhoods are getting flooded, probably by outside people like Antifa and stuff like that, going in there, stealing everything out of it and walking away. Now you notice it's not happening in any red cities. Any place that's run by a red conservative thought process, they're not closing down and moving out of there. Now, if you notice all of those companies I said, there's one thing that they all have in common. You know what that is?
COVID money?
Nope. What? You know? Yeah. Say guess. One thing. They're all companies that refuse to unionize.
Ooh, that's right. Walmart.
Yeah.
They're the big ones.
So they all refuse to unionize. So now these blue cities are letting the hounds out.
Wow.
And they're going in there and they're wiping these guys out and making them close.
Ooh.
Well, sucks for those
very
cities.
interesting.
Sucks for those cities when they have no place to shop.
Well, now they just get higher prices in different places or have to travel further.
A lot of people out of work too.
I don't have a problem with that.
I'm just saying, I don't think that the crime that's being committed on these big companies in these blue cities, I think once they close down and they leave, those shoplifting crimes are going to go by the wayside.
Well,
Because
they
they're
have no
gonna
place to
call-
steal from.
Well, no, exactly, because they do. They have plenty more places that they can, mom and pop places they can get. But I think it's going to go down and be done.
Say your job is done, you can leave.
Yeah, they're not going to bust them in anymore. They're not, because miraculously, all of a sudden, they all have the same idea. Let's get to this store and we'll wipe it out. Then they move on. Let's go to this store. Let's wipe it out.
Yeah.
It's an organized thing.
Just like their rights.
Yeah. And I think that's and once they get out of there, once these companies close, the federal government's going to go, listen, we let you stay open. You didn't side with us. Now you're gone.
That's a good point. Can I ask you something? Now, the liberal news like CNN, MSNBC, and a lot of the local stations, and the politicians. Have you ever heard? Listen, the politician gives a line, the line of the day,
Quote.
and right, and all these. It's amazing. It's exactly
I have a
the
question.
same line.
I have a question for you. is it the politician coming up with this, or is it the news media?
That's a good point. But whoever it is, they're all the same. So somebody's talking before this comes out.
Right.
Do you think that's true?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I just find it interesting that I hear a politician say something and then every single newscast says the same thing.
Well, that goes for all media outlets, no matter if it's a left-leaning or right-leaning.
Right.
Just talk.
Almost every channel you turn on, you hear that quote. Whatever you heard, for the politician. It's amazing.
I forget what his name is. He's a representative from Florida, the black guy. What's his name?
Oh, the bald-headed guy.
Well, he's not really bald. No, he's not. He's a black guy. He's got hair. He's got a beard.
He's good.
And he goes on MSNBC all the time and schools them so bad. He's the only one. He's the only one that goes, hold on a minute there, you're saying something wrong. The last time I saw him, they were talking about this January 6th stuff and how it's wrong, it's slanted, this and that. And he goes, and they were talking about, the whole thing with Trump. And he goes, oh, hey. Oh, and it was brought up, what it did is it brought up the paperwork that was found in Trump's Mar-a-Lago. And he goes, you're wrong. Because Hillary Clinton destroyed 30,000 emails and had a server in her closet in her home, and you did nothing over it. You didn't report it or anything. Man, this woman was like,
DeSantis does that to those newscasters too. He'll tell them, whoa, wait a minute. I'm going to answer your question.
No,
I don't like it.
I got a problem with DeSantis right now. If you notice, DeSantis is having a hard time in the polls. And I think the one and only reason why DeSantis has a problem in the polls right now, trying to run for office, is he's sided himself with Bush personnel. He's got Karl Rove running things for him, and they're part of the Uniparty. And his message is not getting sent with the same edge as it used to have. When he was on his own and he was just running the state of Florida and being him, he was being himself, he didn't have these guys surrounding him. And now these are the ones he hired, and they're muddying his message. He's not getting his message out, he's getting their message. And every single person that comes into the Republican side is not affecting Trump's polls, they're affecting his polls.
Right.
They're taking from him.
Though Trump had trouble too. He would, his people were saying this, that, and the other thing until he got that woman who won that election for him and said, "Whoa, this is not your message, Mr. Trump. Let's push out your message." So maybe the same thing will happen with him. He'll find out. My message. Someone's going to tell him, "Look, your message is getting muddled."
Well, what he has to do is the same thing that Reagan did. When Reagan was running for office in the 80s, he was very strong because he was going to go against Ford, and they talked him out of it. And he said, "Okay." They were like, bide your time. Right now is not your moment. So he said, "Okay," and he didn't vote for Ford. Him and his wife Nancy walked down to the poll and they voted for every other slot but president. They just didn't vote for president.
Right.
Then Jimmy Carter came in and he knew he had it. Now his moment was coming. And it was still a toss-up between him and Bush. Bush was, and they made a deal to have Bush be his vice president because Bush wasn't his choice. Bush was the choice of the Republican Party for him.
Right.
But what he did was early in his meetings, his message wasn't getting out. So his campaign leader was talking and blah blah blah, and I forget what the name. I have his library in my YouTube. I'll have to see who it was. So all of a sudden, this one guy stands up in one of his meetings and says, "Mr. Reagan, is that your message?" And he said, "No." He goes, "Well, what's your message?" And he said it. And he goes, "Well, that's what you have to say."
Yeah.
That guy, he was fired. That guy got put in. Yeah. And that's the same thing DeSantis has to do. Somebody has to go to DeSantis and say, what Karl Rove just said, is that what you're trying to get your point across?
Yep.
And he's going to say no.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, well, then maybe you should start saying your message.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, that's what I think is going to happen. Hopefully. Actually, what I think, what you said, I think DeSantis should go for vice president. This way we could get him for 12 years.
Well, he hasn't even said that he's running for president yet. He hasn't officially announced it. So
Because that would be something.
here's the thing: if Trump can stay out of jail,
Yeah.
from what the last report I heard was today, actually, and Trump's team is unbelievable right now. It is everywhere. It is funded.
Yeah.
It is already on the ground, and it's ready to go. So if he can stay out of jail and continue this campaign, he's gonna be the winner.
Yeah, he raised $20 million after this happened.
Yeah. Well,
But
again, you know what? It shouldn't cost you hundreds of millions or $1 billion to run for president
Well,
for
it
a
did cost him-
$500,000 job.
I think it cost him over $1 billion of his own money, right? The last time he.
Well, I know he's one of the few presidents that went into office, and when he got out, his net worth was less.
Right.
So that's when you get. That's what I got.
Nothing else?
That's all. I thought you were going to talk a lot because you didn't get to talk last week.
I wanted to. I had a lot to say, but
Well, see whatever you can.
we'll get it next week. Yeah, okay.
We have 15 minutes.
I don't think people want to hear me coughing.
So, I mean, you have any other topic that's on your mind, Jack? Do you have something? No? Dennis?
What about? You know what I don't like? I don't like Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Well, I know you don't like her, but at yesterday's hearing, did you see what she did at yesterday's hearing?
I heard about it.
Did you hear what she did with Swallow?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty awesome. And they took it to a vote, and she won. So they didn't strike what she said out of the minutes. They did strike down what she said to Mayorkas, and then they took her time away. So it was a little victory for that. But what she said about, because I didn't see what Swalwell said, but her opening statement was, that's an interesting statement coming from a person that had a love affair with a Chinese spy.
That wasn't stricken?
No.
Wow. Why don't you like her?
I think she's just far out there. She doesn't know when to reel it in.
Do you think it's time to not reel it in? No.
Right now it is. Right now. Because people are tired of seeing everybody at each other's throats.
Well, that's going to happen, though, if you're going to make change, right?
They don't need to be at each other's throats to make change, Mike.
Well, usually when you make change, people don't like change.
Yeah, but let's say, just to be a devil's advocate on this, she said, and it's in a record now, that Swallow had a 2-year affair with a Chinese spy.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's not just rumor, it's written fact.
Mm-hmm.
Mayorkas is not doing his job, and he called her a liar. She called him a liar. Now we come on here every day and say they're lying. He is lying. And not only is he lying, but he's lying with a smug look on his face.
Ooh,
Because he knows that when he's done lying, there's no teeth in these congressional hearings.
He goes home and he gets paid.
And he continues the same policy.
Right.
While 300 families,
And he don't have to answer for anything.
they don't sleep that night because they lost a kid. And the rest of their life is taken. I get what you're saying, like, she's almost like a loose cannon.
Right.
So it needs to be refined a little bit more.
And that's what we've always complained about the Democrats. They're loose cannons.
So, who do
Yeah,
you
but
think,
they're illegally loose cannons.
do you think somebody should talk to her? Somebody who is the leader of the party or something? Say, how about I'll let you know when to pursue this line of thought that you have?
I think Kevin McCarthy is okay with her because she backed him 100%.
Well, here's the thing. I think what the problem is,
See, the political favors is ridiculous.
Tell me if you think I'm wrong on this. The reason why she's a loose cannon and can say what she can say is because the rest of the party doesn't have a plan.
Right.
So what she's trying to do
Like
is
fire.
cause a plan to come into effect.
Okay, but what's her plan? Everybody can bitch, moan, and complain, but unless you have a solution,
Well, I think what her plan, now, again,
nobody has a solution to any of the problems in Congress.
well, there you have it. And I think what you're trying to say, I might be wrong, but you tell me because you're here and you can tell me if I'm wrong. I feel she's saying this to bring it to the forefront. Now the Republicans have to come up with a solution. I said it. It's out there. Swalwell had a 2-year affair with a Chinese spy. What are we going to do about it? Now the capacity of her leadership is like ha ta 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 ta. I don't. You know what it is, Dennis? Is I feel like everybody that's in a position of power doesn't know. Here we go. We talk about it all the time. They don't know what they're allowed to do because they're so stuck in lockstep of what the swamp wants them to do.
Yeah, but
Now,
they're in the highest office of the
so
land.
now you have a guy who has this. It's officially written in the minutes that he had a 2-year. So what should happen next? So what should happen next is there should be an investigation against Swalwell. Is it going to happen? No. I mean, the guy that ran in New York and won on all those lies, they know it. He admitted, I lied. I did it because I needed to get elected. What was done with it? Nothing.
They should make him resign.
Well, you can't make him resign until you do something about it. He was voted in, so the constituent has to get rid of him. So what do you got to do? Now you have to go and say, this is a fraudulent, so now you have to do the work. And there's the 4-letter word, work.
Now, talking about work, when the United States, when the United States people see these, the congressmen bringing all of this to light and everything, and then nothing gets done, why don't they call their congressmen?
Here's the thing, Mike, nobody sees it.
They're
Nobody's
not
watching it
seeing
here.
I mean,
Who's seeing it?
I
How do you
see
see it?
You see it.
I see it because I spend 3 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 12 hours watching things
think-
like C-SPAN.
You think
I
of-
watch these things.
You think a mother and father of a family of 4 has time to watch the news and time to watch hearings? When they're out there running soccer, baseball, basketball,
But then you see, Jens, I don't think anything's going to happen.
they're
Because,
worried.
But here's the
But it's
thing.
because it's their own fault.
But here's the thing. At the end of the night, instead of spending your last 15 minutes of the day looking at Facebook or watching a reality show,
Turn
turn that off, put the kids to bed, and read what's supposed to be happening for you. You know, I mean, we wrote a book. Who knows if anybody's going to have, who reads books nowadays?
yeah. Yeah, that's...
You know, is that a dying art? I mean, they stopped teaching the kids how to write cursive in school.
Yeah.
Are they going to stop them from reading?
You know, that's, because we were saying that from the beginning when you brought this up. You know, these hearings are coming out. It's being brought to everyone's attention, and then you don't hear anything about it anymore. So I was
What's the
just
matter?
wondering
So
if
why-
anything was going to...
So why is nothing... There you go, Mike. You just said what the problem is. So now nothing's going on. So what happens? So what happens in the average home? They saw what happened, and they're like, I can't believe this is happening. And then they
Shut up,
change the
then.
channel and put on a reality show, or they go onto
and they
Facebook,
hope it's going to get better.
and they hope it's going to get better because they elected this guy.
And then they
lied.
forget about it.
And it's done.
Yeah.
And then 3 months come down the road, and nobody goes back and says,
Whatever happened to
whatever
so-and-so?
happened? You want to know when it happens? God forbid. Please, God. What happens is when tragedy strikes their home, then they start.
Terrorist attack gets through.
Fentanyl hits their house.
Right.
You know, now they're interested.
Yeah.
And that's a
And that's a very
tragedy.
sad
And you want to know
moment.
something? You want to know how bad things are getting? Here's my conclusion, last thing. Washington State just passed a bill, 5559. So Washington State passed a bill where they could take your kids from you and without you knowing. So now your kid's missing. So let's say you have a transgender kid at 13 years old, and they want to transgender to something.
You have no say in it.
Washington State says all they have to do is go to one of these places, say it. They will even do irreplaceable surgeries,
Without
give them
consent.
hormone pills, and change this person into what this 13-year-old thinks they want to be to conclude their agenda. Nobody in their family's doing it. Just these people. Just your average folks. You know, Washington State, there's part of Washington State that wants to go over to Idaho.
Yeah, I know. You know
How
in the evil are these people?
In the Constitution, it says every state's allowed to have a republic-type government.
Yeah.
And then they did Washington State. So are these kids your kids, or are they kids of the state?
Well, according to them, they're kids of the state.
Right.
And they would think that they're not the only state that are sick in this neither. They've been trying to get these kids. Pennsylvania's constantly got travel services checking
I
families.
really think it's time to split the United States up between red states and blue states, Democratic States of America and the Republican States of America. That's what I think we should do. Succession.
I don't think we can, because we had one of the greatest presidents in the world give his life up not to do that, not to break the union. I think what we need to do is have these parents,
Fight.
get outraged.
Yeah, but
I
I
mean,
don't
that
think
they should be outraged about. They can take your kids and change them without your knowledge. What is it going to take?
this country needs a mutual divorce.
Wow.
And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, that's all I got today, this week. I hope you think about it. Over $4 trillion last year was taken in tax dollars. There's over 4 million government employees, and I don't count the U.S. Post Office because they pay for their own.
Yeah. They're not paid with tax dollars. They're paid with profits that they make.
Right. And they have 20-year pension put away.
Yeah.
It's the only company in the world that has to do that in the
They're
United
forced
States.
by Congress to do it.
And the only reason why they had to do that was because it was another pool of money for them to steal.
Exactly.
It's just like Social Security and everything else. If you did the same thing the government does with our retirement pensions, you'd be thrown in jail and never see the day of your life.
So wake up, people. This is your life. You want to be a socialist country? You want to be a capitalist country? Choice is ours, and ours alone. You can't let these politicians control anything we do anymore because they're useless. Mike, you have anything to add?
No, I answered all my questions.
You want to lead us in prayer?
Oh, sure.
The only thing I got to say is stay current, folks.
Yeah,
Don't put me out of business of my weekly reminders.
yeah. You know, this show is getting scarier and scarier every week, it seems like, you know? I mean, that's scary stuff right there. All right. Psalms 27:14. Wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen thy heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. Let's pray. Please, Lord, bless and protect this new party, this podcast, and all that work on it, and all that listen to it. Lord, please have mercy on this nation and have our leaders do your will. We're scared, Lord. Please help us. We just don't think we can meet tomorrow's challenge. In our own power, we know we're too weak. But we have faith you will enable us to meet whatever challenges life brings. We'll wait for you, Lord, to empower us with your spirit. Strengthen our heart, Lord. We pray this in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen. Just remember, knowledge is power. The more you know, the more you can't screw with you. Be the one with the most knowledge in the room. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you at our next live show at 7 o'clock on YouTube, Fed Up with Politics, and Stand United with Jack and Dennis, and our United States Constitutional Group Facebook page. So check us out there if you want to see us live. Have a good weekend, folks. Bye-bye.